ex-governor of Washington State.
All the way to the Capitol!
There's only one small problem. His brother, Mike.
What the hell is a marquee doing here?
His heart is in the right place. Unfortunately,
Okay, see Al.
the rest of him never is.
Oh my God!
We've got to keep this bozo under wraps.
So now they have to find someone
Then I am your man.
to keep him under control.
Okay, good first day.
I want you to do exactly as I tell you.
Yeah, okay, keep talking.
I know a place way outside of town.
Bug bags. I got dibs on tap. Okay.
I got dibs on top, bug.
Shut up!
So what do you want to do today? What's that black thing?
Whoa! Ah! What are you doing? Give these down my belt! Boy, I feel like a horse's patoot.
This movie has a very interesting history behind it. It was a success box office-wise, just like Tommy Boy was the year before, but it was just destroyed by critics when it came out at the time of its release. In fact, most notably, Gene Siskel, of all people, said that this was the movie that was so bad that he walked out of the film, something that he hadn't done in decades. That's how bad some people saw this movie. Some respected film critics like Gene Siskel walked out of this movie. Like, out of every other movie bad movie that came out between these 2 years, 1995, 96, in all the years of the movies that he had seen before this, this is the one where he said he couldn't take it. And it's interesting because really, this whole film was basically made because of the success of Tommy Boy. Lorne Michaels, of course, produced the film along with Tommy Boy. This is Wayne's World director Penelope Spears, who had just come off of The Little Rascals, The Beverly Hillbillies, and Michaels later said that the film was basically an act of desperation by Paramount Pictures, in that the movie studio had underpromoted Tommy Boy so much that when it became the big hit that it was, they were looking to cash in on the same formula. So Michael had just finished these battles with the script over Wayne's World 2, and the animosity between the two camps actually spilled over into Chris Farley's contract with Paramount Pictures, although his agent lined up possible roles for him in The Cable Guy, which he would have gotten $3 million for that, and Kingpin. The movie studio remained firm on wanting another buddy comedy film with Farley and Spade, and the film was written by Fred Wolf, who basically said that the studio told him to deliver a finished script on Sunday, the last day Chris was contractually allowed to get out of the movie, and if he didn't have a finished script, they were going to sue him. So Fred Wolf basically wrote 45 pages within a few days and dropped the script off at Paramount 15 minutes before that deadline. And Farley basically said he wasn't crazy about it, but only agreed to do the film, basically to work with David Spade again. And, of course, Penelope Spears had some disagreements with Fred Wolf and David Spade throughout the production of the film. Wolf was actually fired 3 times from the movie. He was actually hired back twice by Farley and once by Lorne Michaels, and then refused to speak to him and finally banned him off the set for good. And her relationship with David Spade was equally as tumultuous. In a biography by Chris Farley, she said that, "I don't think I ever smiled at anything David Spade's ever done. I started recording a message of David leaving on my answering machine saying, 'You spent the whole movie trying to cut my comedy balls off,' and the most shocking thing about that is they would work again in 2 years prior after this movie came out with the movie Senseless." And, the combination of that, working under sunlight while filming Black Sheep, actually caused permanent damage to David Spade's eyes, actually. He said that he had to wear a hat even indoors, and flashes in particular freaked him out. And he even had to make them turn down the lights in the makeup trailers, which basically made him say that he had become such a pain in the butt with the light sensitivity thing. It's a wonder they don't just shoot me. Which, coincidentally, that was the show that he did after that. I mean, really, they could have made a documentary about how the production behind this movie was just so all over the place. I mean, this is just a behind-the-scenes disaster, judging by what I'm reading here. And, this isn't the first time Spears has had problems with movies starring SNL cast members. Of course, her scuffle with Mike Myers is known for making the first Wayne's World movie. That's why they didn't bring her back. But, really, when you look at this, with all these numerous production problems, you would think that the movie is probably all that bad, right? Not really. I mean, it's not as good as Tommy Boy, but Tommy Boy is just a hilarious movie that just works on so many levels. But at the same time, Black Sheep does get by because of Chris Farley and David Spade. Their chemistry on screen together was so good. Like, it was really amazing, the two movies that they did. They were the best things about the movie. They were very funny. The comedy in the film, for the most part, does work for the most part. Even though this time around, it is more of Chris Farley just falling to the ground, getting caught in something. Like, the joke kind of gets old pretty quickly, but it still makes me laugh. It still is a very funny movie, but really, there are a lot more problems in this particular film that you can definitely take from this than you could with Tommy Boy. Like, for example, the story. You can predict everything that's going to happen over the course of a movie, but for a movie like this, you kind of expect that. Plus, really, they do stuff in here that makes no sense whatsoever. The big twist is that the other candidate in the movie uses dead people in order to win the votes in each county, so you think that's something that's been done before, something in a more popular TV show like The Simpsons, when Sideshow Bob pretty much did the same damn thing, which aired over a year before the movie came out. I mean, my God. I mean, talk about just taking something straight from another property. I mean, they took that exact same plot and put it into this movie, and it shows that this was a script that was just coming together at the last minute. Like, man, like, really, you really did not put that much thought into the script, but you basically were kind of had no choice to do that. But like I said before, the biggest problem that I saw with Black Sheep is the bits of comedy don't really seem to connect as well as they did with Tommy Boy, and mostly it's just staged bits to get humor off the fact that, hey, Chris Farley's fat, let's watch him fall on his ass. And I can see how that gets annoying really fast in this movie, and there are definitely points in this movie where it does get really annoying. And despite that, there are moments that still make me laugh. I mean, the funniest joke in the entire movie, at least to me, was when Chris Farley goes to the concert in, I think it's Seattle, and he's there, and he's dressing up as a security guard, and he goes and he's talking to this guy who's trying to force himself into the concert, and the guy's just talking smack about Chris Farley right in front of him, and Farley just goes off on this huge rant going like, young fella, if you don't start moving, if you don't move, hold on, I actually gotta find this. I want to get this right, because I had to actually go find the quote again, because I couldn't remember it right off the top of my head, but he basically just screams on this rant going, young man, I'm gonna twist you off your head and spike it onto the floors of a nightmare you can't even imagine. I will dance with you inside the six-sided ring of fire, unless you move from this area far and fast, now, with his ears with steam coming out of it. I mean, that's still a brilliantly hilarious scene, and it works because it's Chris Farley that does it. I think anybody else in that role couldn't have made that line work, but there are a lot of really funny moments in here. There are a lot of good moments of physical comedy as well. But yeah, the times when the comedy is just like, hey, let's watch Chris Farley fall on his ass because he's fat. It's just like, it happens so many times in this movie, and it does get annoying, and you can definitely see why it would get annoying. But, you know, like I said before, Black Sheep may not be one of the stronger comedies released in the 90s, but really, look at this movie and look at some of the comedies that we got after that, like after the fact. 20 years later, we got movies like Vacation or Dirty Grandpa, or these really terrible comedies that try to be the same thing, these raunchy comedies, not very funny comedies. And you know what? I'd rather take this movie over anything that came out later, 20 years later. Easily, no question about it. Is it a great movie? No, not really, but it does have those elements that still makes it work. It's still a funny comedy if you go into it with the right mindset. Just don't expect a classic on any means necessary, but like I said, it's better than some of the later comedies we got almost 20 years later that tried to be similar to this but failed miserably. It's not one of the worst comedies ever, but I definitely can see why many people would consider it not as great of a film as you would expect, but So, yeah, that's Black Sheep for you. So let's move on to the next movie, and that is Demi Moore and Alec Baldwin in the drama The Juror.
Of the 12 jurors deciding the case, he decided on her.
I know who you are when you wake up.
She knows he's watching. She knows he's waiting.
All you have to do is say, not guilty.
Now, justice is in the hands of the juror.
Stay out of our lives.
Demi Moore, Alec Baldwin, from the chilling bestseller, The Juror, rated R, at theaters February.
Man, Demi Moore picked some really bad movies around this time period. I mean, you just had The Scarlet Letter a couple of months ago, and now you have this movie, and yeah, this is not a very good movie. I mean, it's trial by jury all over again, and a movie that didn't work the first time, except this time we've got bigger names attached to this one. We got Demi Moore, we got Alec Baldwin, James Gandolfini is also in this as well. It's the same movie. It's the same movie as Trial by Jury, except it didn't work the first time. It doesn't work the second time because the script is not that great. It's based off of a book that they bought the movie rights to before the thing was even published. And when they were making the movie, the book didn't even come out yet, so they had to remake the story before the book even came out. So how the hell is this supposed to even work? Like, unless you have a good hook to go with this, but it's just not there. I mean, it's the worst thing Demi Moore did in 1996, and I know she did Striptease as well, but Striptease was a much better movie, but not by that much. But we'll get to that one eventually when we get to the summer of '96. But the movie just doesn't work. You don't like these characters at all. The mystery is not that interesting. The thriller aspects are not that interesting. It's just not an interesting film on any way, shape, or form. It's a script story that's been done before. Didn't work the first time around. It certainly doesn't work the second time. And, you know, it just doesn't work. It's a film that's not that great. It's not a story that's not that interesting. You feel nothing coming out of this. Like, what's the point of even making this movie if you're not going to do anything different compared to what was done before? Like, you're trying to create the next Firm, like the next big legal thriller, and the Firm worked because it actually was a much better film compared to this. But this movie, not so much. This is not a very good film whatsoever. It's the reason why you see movies like this in the dumping grounds of January and early February. And, like, rightfully so, because it's not a very good film. It's a film that, if it didn't work the first time, you got to do something to make it better the second time around. And, yeah, needless to say, that did not quite work. So, that is The Juror for you. So, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie here, which I just forgot the title of. Oh, now I know what it is. It's Ridley Scott's White Squirrel with Jeff Bridges.
Courage.
Climb!
He challenged their spirit.
We're a crew. That's what this whole thing is about.
Hollywood Pictures presents
Skipper!
A 1 in a million freak accident?
a story of tragedy
Or was it negligence?
Don't you walk out of this, Skipper!
and triumph.
We listened to you, and we are still here!
Jeff Bridges in a Ridley Scott film based on a true story. White Squall, rated PG-13.
Yeah, you almost forget that this movie was actually done by Ridley Scott. It was a movie that came out during that time period when he was not the big draw that he used to be. He had a couple of flops. 1492, Conquest of Paradise was not a big hit. And this is the first movie he had done since then. He's got a good cast to him here. Jeff Bridges, Scott Wolf, who was coming on Party of 5, Jeremy Sisto, who was in Clueless, Ryan Felipe in one of his early film roles, Caroline Goodall, Balthazar Getty. There's a really good cast here. There is an intriguing idea here overall, but it's not really that great of a film overall. It does try a little bit too hard to be sort of an Oscar baitish type of film, but everybody's at least trying in this movie. There is at least some effort going into this in terms of the direction. The performances led by Jeff Bridges really carries the film overall. I think it's one of the stronger elements of the movie because, I mean, honestly, Jeff Bridges is that great of an actor. He can make stuff like this work as well as it can. Maybe the biggest problem with the movie is that it doesn't really feel like it ever goes anywhere. Like, you kind of know where it's going to go. There's not really a huge set of surprises or twists that go on in this. And the movie overall is just kind of mediocre. It's a film that tries its best to try to do something unique and different, but it just never can push itself to that other level. It's a film that's largely forgotten and for good reason. It doesn't really have anything to make it a memorable film. Except for the fact that the Weather Channel, when they had that terrible stint when they were trying to put movies on their lineup, they picked this movie, which nobody had even heard of when they did that. There was another movie Win that we already looked at, and then Volcano. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but the Weather Channel, when they did that movie thing that they had, that movie block, they picked some of the worst movies to put on that lineup because none of them really had much to do with the weather overall. Like, I know White Squall technically has some elements to the weather of it, but, you know, when you think of weather movies, you think of something like The Perfect Storm. You think of something like Twister. You think of something like, I guess maybe Earthquake might be considered one, even though it's not really weather-related. That's something that's happening on the ground, but, still would make a whole lot of sense than some of the movies that they were putting on there. And that's just, I know I'm going, like I said, I'm going off on a tangent here, but that's what I brought that up because White Squall was one of those movies, and that's actually how I saw this movie the first time, back when they did that in 2010. Yeah, 2010. And it's a movie that, and bottom line, it was just not a good movie. It was just not a movie that was capable of being a good film. Like, it was not a film that truly showed what Ridley Scott could do as a director. This was kind of a lull in his long, illustrious career, and he'd had one more kind of flop with G.I. Jane, even though that movie was actually a lot better, and it was actually what had to be more again. But we'll get to that when we get to 97. But that movie started kind of his comeback a little bit. This was kind of the last film in that lull that he was in between Thelma and Louise and G.I. Jane, and it just wasn't a good movie. It just really wasn't that intriguing of a film whatsoever. It was a mostly forgettable film, and you can definitely see why. It was just not that intriguing or exciting whatsoever. So that's White Squall for you. Let's move on to the next movie, and that is Antonia's Line.
Academy Award winner for Best Foreign Language Film is now on home video. The Los Angeles Times calls Antonia's Line remarkable, exuberant. Siskel and Ebert give it 2 thumbs up and call it a very special film. Antonia returned home to raise her daughter and lay her mother to rest.
So the film is most notably the Oscar winner for Best Foreign Language Film in 1996. It's described as a feminist fairy tale telling the story of the independent Antonia, who, after returning to the anonymous Dutch village of her birth, establishes and nurtures a close-knit matriarchal community. And the film covers a breed of topics ranging from death and religion to sex, intimacy, lesbianism, friendship, and love. And that's really all I know about this movie. I haven't really seen it, so I can't really say too much about it. But a little bit I see there, it does look like it could be decent, but it's not something I want to rush out to see. Honestly, it just really, nothing about it makes me say that I need to see this right away. Maybe down the line I might check it out, but it's just something that's not really intriguing me at this moment. So other than that, won the Best Foreign Language Film at the Oscars that year. So quick one there, that's Antonia's Line. Let's move on to the last movie, probably the most notable movie that came out that weekend, and that is the U.S. release of the anime film Ghost in the Shell.
I don't believe it. Thermoptic camouflage.
They really thought they could make this work in live action in Hollywood. I mean, this is a movie that I saw after I saw the live action remake, the Scarlett Johansson one, and it just made me realize how much I hated that movie, how much that was one of the worst movies of that year, and how much this original movie was just so damn good. I mean, much like going in to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender for the first time after you see The Last Airbender, you just gotta say fuck you to the live-action remake. It's just like, how dare you ruin an animated masterpiece like this movie? This is a movie that's on the levels of Akira in terms of not just being a great anime movie, but one of the greatest film achievements overall. I mean, from a technical and visual standpoint, this is about as great and excellent as you can get, and you could possibly ask for a movie like this. From a story standpoint, it's a well-written story, smartly written. It manages to keep the tension and excitement going, especially in the second half. The action sequences alone, I mean, this water fight scene alone is something I could watch over and over again. It's that good.
Aw, out of ammo?
Huh?
I mean, to give the live action movie some credit, that was actually the best thing that they did, is that they recreated that in live action and actually made it kind of work. It was actually one of the few things about the live action remake you could say that actually is pretty damn good. But other than that, the rest of the live action movie is not that good, mostly because it tried to be trendy to the time period. It takes the controversy surrounding the film and gives the audience the biggest middle finger you can give it. And the movie of this is legitimate. It's authentic. It doesn't talk down to you like you're the dumbass. It treats you like an adult. It treats the story that can appeal to universal audiences and not just kids, because it's a cartoon. It's one of the reasons why we always say animation is for everyone. It's not something that you put on to keep your kids quiet, like some people will tell you. This is one of those movies that shows what animation really is. It's simply a masterpiece. And to see the atrocity that was the live-action remake, and then finally watch the original film, I now hate that I hated that live-action remake even more after I saw this movie for the first time. They took a brilliantly made, well-executed, well-written, action-packed feature film and just ruined it by making it live-action, dumbing it down. It's got nice visuals, yes, but you know what? As I always say, visuals don't make the fucking movie. I mean, bottom line, avoid that piece of shit remake and just go watch the original, tried and true Ghost in the Shell remake. And that should have been and really, just stop trying to make live action movies based off of animes. Unless you do what I talked about in my Creed 3 review and have Michael B. Jordan do Akira. I mean, that's the only way I probably would accept it. But even then, I wouldn't even at that point, I would say, don't do that. Just stop trying to ruin these movies, because these movies just work better as animated films. Watch Akira, watch Ghost in the Shell, watch the originals, not the live-action Ghost in the Shell. They haven't made live-action Akira just yet, but even though they keep trying to. But bottom line, my whole point is, the animated Ghost in the Shell movie is amazing. Avoid the live-action one like the plague.
At 1,250 miles per hour, nothing can catch it.
Go 7, this is Command. How do you read?
Command, we got you loud and clear.
Roger that.
At 400 feet above the ground, nothing can track it.
Approaching enemy radar. Switching to stealth mode. Over.
And on a routine training mission somewhere over Utah.
Confirmed. No radar contact. Looks like you boys are in God's hands now.
Hell, the payload we're carrying, we are God.
A Renegade B-3 stealth bomber dropped its nuclear payload.
AWACS Command, I'm showing 2 weapons down. What? Repeat, we've lost 2 nukes. Give me the Pentagon. Flash. What the hell is going on?
Gentlemen, looks like we got a broken arrow.
Flawless effects there. I mean, did you see the way that stealth bomber looked? And I mean, flawless visual effects there. Yeah, that looked pretty bad even for 1995 when that came out. It's just like, yeah, that looks pretty bad. And I mean, I guess they figure it's just a teaser trailer. Just do the best you can, and that's what they had to deal with. And not only that, you gotta love how this was kind of the time period where they kept using the same score from Alien 3 all the time in these action movie trailers. And, yeah, it's a very interesting trailer, nevertheless. And the movie itself is okay. It's not the greatest movie ever. It's not a great action movie overall, but it is still a pretty solid movie. This is John Woo who directed this movie. This is actually, I believe, the first movie he did Actually, I take that back. I was going to say it was the first one he did in America, but he did Hard Target before that one. But this was the movie that kind of jump-started his action film career in the late 90s, because after this, of course, he would reunite with Travolta again for Face Off, which is a far superior movie compared to this film, but we'll get to that when we get to 97. But Broken Arrow overall is a very fun movie. It's a very flawed film, nevertheless. It's still a very solid action movie all around. John Travolta's having the time, and Christian Slater work off each other very well. You can tell Travolta's having the time of his life with this performance that he's given. I mean, he has probably the best line in the entire movie. The way he just has to say the line, "Yeah, ain't it cool?" But only John Travolta can make it sound as badass as it does in this movie.
You're out of your mind. Ain't it cool?
Just that one simple line makes it all the more badass. And Interestingly enough, John Travolta was actually going to play the Christian Slater role in this movie, and Christian Slater was going to be Travolta, but they switched that around, and maybe that gave him the idea for Face Off, honestly, to have him, is of course with that premise right there, but again, we'll save that one for when we get to 97, but the film overall is a lot of fun. It's a very solid action film. Story-wise, not the best, but you know what? It works on all the other levels. The music overall is great. Hans Zimmer does a great job with the score. Some have even said this is one of his best scores he's ever done, which it's hard to say because he's done so many great scores, but it's a really solid one all around, and it's just really a great film overall. The interesting side note, we talked last week about how, in the last episode, about how Black Sheep was very interesting for Gene Siskel because it was the first movie that he ever walked out of in the history of his years of reviewing movies. Well, on this very same show, I believe that this actually aired when they did the review for this, he actually gave the film a marginal thumbs up, but as the review went along and Roger Ebert was talking about everything he didn't like about it, he actually reversed his thumb down. From a thumbs up to a thumbs down, which I thought was very interesting. It's one of the few times that actually in the middle of a review that one of the reviewers had a positive review to go for it, and then all of a sudden at the end of it, they literally went back down to a thumbs down. I mean, I actually believe it was the same episode as the Black Sheep review, which would have made for a very interesting week for that particular show, but that's one of the more notable things that I remember about this particular film overall. But the film itself is still a very fun action film. It does deliver what it promises. It's good fun all around. It doesn't need to do anything smart or creative, but it does give you more than enough to be very entertained by it overall. It's a very solid film overall. I can't recommend it enough. If you like a good, fun, turn your brain off action film, Broken Arrow is definitely the one to check out. So, with that said, let's move on to the next movie, and that is the star-studded Beautiful Girls.
That is unbelievable.
A mysterious stranger just came to town.
Does she have a boyfriend?
A girl like that's born with a boyfriend.
And for 3 lifelong friends,
Do you guys find her shy?
nothing will ever be the same. Critics call Beautiful Girls the first great comedy of the year.
You boys take the ladies way too serious.
2 thumbs up. The cast is dynamite. Don't miss it. She's good. Beautiful Girls.
The best.
Rated R. Now playing.
So in the film, you see Matt Dillon's in this, also Lauren Holly, Timothy Hutton, Rosie O'Donnell, Marshall Plimpton, Martha Plimpton, Martha Plimpton, Natalie Portman, Michael Rappaport, Mira Sorvino, Uma Thurman. This is directed by Ted Demme, who had just done The Ref and also did Who's the Man, and makes another pretty good film overall here. It's a nice little ensemble comedy. The performances overall are very strong. The writing overall is very good. It fits the theme of the 1990s overall. It's a decent little romantic comedy. There really isn't anything too spectacular about it to make it kind of stand out on its own. Sometimes it can be a little too formulaic at times, but the movie for the most part works because the cast is so very good in this film, and this is one of Natalie Portman's early film roles, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was actually the one that actually convinced George Lucas to cast her in Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. I could be wrong on that, but she really is one of the standouts of this film, and everybody in this movie does a really good job in here. The writing is very solid, and it really doesn't really have a lot there. It really doesn't have a lot there to make it stand out on its own, but as far as a solid romantic comedy overall is, it definitely delivers on all of that, mostly because of the cast itself and the way that it presents itself for the time period, the late 90s in New York City. It's a very interesting time at that point, and these characters work off each other very well to make the movie stand up on its own on that particular level. Not from a story level, but from a character level, it works well enough to make it really enjoyable. A nice little film overall. I recommend checking it out. Beautiful Girls, really good film. So, with that said, let's move on to the next movie. Yes, I am going to keep that in there, but on to the next film, and that is Kenneth Branagh's A Midwinter's Tale.
This production wants to be extremely innovative in the way we communicate.
Or as Box Office Mojo calls it, A Midwinter's Tale, when it's actually called In the Bleak Midwinter. And it's a British romantic comedy written and directed by Kenneth Branagh. Many of these roles in the film were written for specific actors, and this is the first film that Branagh had ever directed that he did not appear in. He has had a couple of other films where he doesn't appear in it, but this was actually the first one that actually was that film. And you follow this out-of-work actor who has this monologue about his slow decline into depression. In an attempt to beat his depression, he volunteers to save his sister's local church from land developers for the community by putting on a Christmas production of Hamlet, somewhat against the advice of his agent, played by Joan Collins. The cast he assembles are still available even at Christmas, and prepares to do it on a profit-sharing basis. And he cannot expect and does not get the cream of the cream. But although they all bring their own problems and foibles along with them, something bigger starts to emerge in the perhaps aptly named Village of Hope. The film encapsulates the hilarious and heartbreaking struggle of actor versus situation versus life, and often versus each other. It's shot in black and white mainly for artistic effect. And as you can tell, I'm reading this off of the Wikipedia page because I really knew nothing about this movie before I even did the research for it. I didn't know Kenneth Branagh actually did it. I never even knew it even existed. So, needless to say, I obviously have not seen it, so I can't really say if it's good or not. It's got some pretty decent reviews overall, and the concept seems like it could be something pretty interesting, like a behind-the-scenes mockumentary type of feel to it. Good cast overall in here. Joan Collins. You also have Julia Sawalha, Jennifer Saunders from Absolutely Fabulous, Patrick Doyle, some notable names in here if you follow British for entertainment. It looks like it could be something that could be pretty decent. I mean, I'm not saying it's anything. I'm not going to say too much because I haven't seen it, but my interest is kind of intrigued on this one. So, anyway, that's A Midwinter's Tale. Now let's take a look at the documentary Heidi Fleiss, Hollywood Madam.
Fleiss was convicted of 3 counts of pandering, which carries far harsher penalties than prostitution itself.
You can make big money real fast.
There's young, pretty girls around, and a lot of rich men.
People that you would not even imagine go out with prostitute. It would shock a lot of people.
They wanted like your typical California, innocent, untouched, 18-year-old blonde.
I need a woman.
Do you want me to find you one? Do you, honey?
You would have to just talk nasty to him. Would weasel so much money out of this guy.
As a person, she was a really good friend.
She's probably one of the most horrible human beings I've ever met in my life.
A lot of times they hired us just to sit and watch them do drugs.
She had a way with men. Men liked her.
She became a different person. She became a mean, ice-cold bitch.
Hollywood doesn't want to be revealed.
Hi, honey, I just slept with 30 guys. Here's the money. Let's go home and sleep together.
So some of you might be a little too young to know who Heidi Fleiss was. Well, Heidi Fleiss basically ran an upscale prostitution ring based in Los Angeles in the 1990s and was often referred to as said Hollywood Madam. She'd also worked as a columnist and a television personality regularly in the 90s, and by 1990, Fleiss severed links with several of the people that she worked with, beginning her own prostitution ring. By 91, she became very successful. She was able to reject women who wished to work with her. And by 93, but then in 93, she was arrested for multiple charges, including attempted pandering. And they went through all these different federal charges that were filed in 94. Fleiss posted $1 million bail. 2 years later, her conviction was overturned. Her appeal bond was set at $200,000. She was then arrested again for tax evasion in 1996 and sentenced to 7 years in prison, even though she only served 20 months in California and was actually released to a halfway house in 1998. There's a huge story behind this person, and she actually turned it into a decent reality show career in the 2000s. There was a made-for-TV movie about her with Tony Soprano's daughter, Jamie Lynn Scala. There was also a number of reality shows she was in, including Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew, Celebrity Big Brother. She actually had an instructional DVD called Sex Tips with Heidi Fleiss and Victoria Sellers. I mean, there's a lot behind this story, and there is a lot of intriguing things about this particular person, and it definitely shows in this documentary. I like the way that this film doesn't really make Heidi Fleiss either the hero or the villain in this. You have to really decide on who this person really is. And that was kind of the point of the movie. The director of this, Nick Broomfield, attempted to discover if Fleiss truly is a horrible person and what made her that way. And the film does kind of a good job of making you want to think about it yourself. Like, is this person really as bad as everyone made it out to be? Or is there something more about this person that we don't really know about that's actually kind of the thing that made her want to do it this way? And it's a very intriguing documentary, to say the least. This is a very captivating story. Even if you don't have a huge knowledge of who this person was, you can watch this movie and really question whether or not this person was really who she really made herself out to be. It's a very intriguing little documentary that doesn't give you the straightforward answers you want for something like this. And I think that's actually what makes it kind of work that way. It's a very intriguing film overall, and it's a very intriguing documentary that I'd highly recommend checking out.
Well, you still my car and leave me with this piece of shit.
For you.
Do you realise how much a car costs?
What side of the road are you on, Willie?
There's one car stolen every 60 seconds in the city, and that's an epidemic.
And those are scenes from our last movie, which is Shopping, which is directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. Now you're wondering, this is the same Paul W.S. Anderson that did Mortal Kombat in the year before in 1995. However, this was actually the first movie that he actually directed. It was actually filmed and shot in the UK in 1990. It came out in 1994, and then I guess after Mortal Kombat's success, they released it here in America. And you see a lot of notable names in this movie. You see Sadie Frost, you see Jude Law in one of his earliest film roles. He actually met his wife, Sadie Frost, on the set of this film in particular. You also have Sean Pertwee, who you later see as Alfred in the Gotham TV series. Sean Bean's also in this. Jonathan Pryce is also in this. Jason Isaacs is also in this. The film has this very unique look to it that's kind of reminiscent of something like Blade Runner in Gotham City. That's one of the reviews of this movie actually called it. It looks very slick. I don't really know for sure about the movie itself because I haven't seen the film. But from the trailer, the rest of the trailer that I saw for this actually looked pretty promising. Like, it looked visually interesting, kind of reminiscent of something like Dark City, which went on to become this cult film in the 90s. And we'll get to that one eventually when we get to 98. But it looks visually interesting on that level. I don't really know too much else about the movie itself. You basically have a story about British teenagers who indulge in joyriding and ram raiding, and that's pretty much everything everything I know about this movie per se. But I don't know, my interest is kind of peaked on it. Maybe one day I'll definitely check it out. But that came out this weekend in America, so I'll cover it here. So that is Shopping for you from Paul W.S. Anderson.
Gilmore. He was a hockey player.
Don't you ever touch my puck!
Now he's going from the rinks to the links.
Where you going on those pucks, punk? I'm your daddy!
He's got the swing.
He shoots, he scores!
He's got the drive.
This guy stinks.
He's got the ball.
All right, let's go.
Adam Sandler is Happy Gilmore. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday at theaters everywhere.
So Happy Gilmore was, of course, the second film for Adam Sandler after Billy Madison came out the year before. And there's been that debate on which one was the better movie that launched Adam Sandler's career in terms of film. Was it Billy Madison? Was it Happy Gilmore? I said when we talked about Billy Madison last year, I thought Happy Gilmore was the best of the two films. And I still stand by that, though. It's a happy movie. It's a very funny movie. It's a very fun golf movie. It's no Caddyshack by any means necessary, but there are still enough of those really funny moments in this that makes it kind of the Caddyshack for its generation, for the 90s. And it's a very funny movie. It's a very funny film where Adam Sandler really gets to showcase his potential as a comedic actor. Has a great cast overall. I mean, you can't go wrong when you bring in Christopher McDonald as the antagonist of the film. Julie Bowen from Modern Family is in this. She's very good in this. Carl Weathers, of course, is in this as well. Just a lot of really funny moments are in this movie. Moments that are still quotable to this very day. Like, there's a lot of lines in this movie that you hear so many people quote all the time, and rightfully so, because it is a very funny film. It's a film that just works on so many levels, and it's had its place in history, too. Not just as a great comedy overall. It's still one of the best movies that Adam Sandler has ever made. Like, it's one of his funniest movies he's made, and it was one of those interesting things back then, because this movie was not a huge critical success at the time, and in fact, some people even put this on the worst of the year list for that year, notably Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert, putting it in kind of the same category as Black Sheep. But really, when you compare Black Sheep and this movie definitely is much better. It's much more clever. It's much more funnier. It's also much more sillier, but it works much better than Black Sheep does. And I like Black Sheep a lot, but really the most notable thing that this movie actually did, which a lot of people don't really think about it at first, but when you really look at one scene in particular where Bob Barker shows up and he basically beats the crap out of Adam Sandler in that famous fight scene, A lot of people didn't realize it, but that scene in particular actually brought in a younger demographic to The Price is Right, which is amazing to think about because, you know, by this point, The Price is Right had been on for almost 25 years, and if you watch those older episodes, especially from the early 90s, they did have younger people in the audience, and they would show up as contestants on the show, but it's interesting to think about it, that this movie really kind of changed the course of The Price is Right success for the rest of the Bob Barker's time, because it really just ballooned the younger demographic to The Price is Right. And Bob Barker himself even said that someone in the audience asked him about Happy Gilmore almost every day. Like, this movie really had that big of an impact, especially when you consider the fact that The Price is Right tried to appeal to a younger demographic not but 2 years prior with the nighttime Price is Right, which was not a success at all. But all it took was Bob Barker beating up Adam Sandler, and Adam Sandler telling him The Price is Wrong, bitch, and all of a sudden The Price is Right finally has a new audience that really found their way to that show. And it's very interesting to really think about that this movie was the catalyst because of that. Like, it was the reason why that happened. So it does have its place in history in a number of ways. It's one of Adam Sandler's best movies. It helped The Price is Right find a younger audience that they didn't expect to find. And it's still one of the best movies that Adam Sandler has made in terms of just straight-up comedies. It's still one of those movies that has been... It's one of his funniest films, honestly. Like, really, I don't think I have to say any more about this one. Happy Gilmore is just a great film.
Centuries ago, a legendary treasure was buried on a remote island. And there's only one living soul daring enough to find it.
Hello, everyone.
Captain Abraham Smollett is taking command.
This voyage has begun.
To wherever the wind may take us. Hurry, Rizzo! I'm going as fast as I can.
But there's trouble afoot.
Beware the one-legged man. He's the one to fear.
Long John Silver, at your service.
One leg, Jim. Count 'em 1.
Now, the captain is being pursued by pirates.
Pirates?
We're sailing for buried treasure.
We're gonna be rich.
We're gonna be dead.
Surrounded by danger.
Terrific. Captured by crazed wild pigs and sacrificed hideously before a pagan altar.
Are we lucky or what?
Haunted by his past.
Bonsoir, mes amis. Smollett, can it be you?
Old girlfriend.
We got cabin fever. We lost one since we had. We got cabin fever. We're all going mad.
Walt Disney Pictures presents, from Jim Henson Productions, a classic tale of ships coming in.
Where's this crew?
And luck running out.
Captain Treasure, let's torch it and rip.
This is my sky.
Muppet Treasure Island.
I'm starting to worry about this voyage.
That is, of course, our next movie, Muppet Treasure Island. Depending on which list you look at on Box Office Mojo. The biggest new release of the weekend, if you're looking at the 4-day President's Day weekend, and that kind of makes sense. Kids movie. Kids are off of school on President's Day, so that could be the reason. But we're not here to talk about numbers here. We're talking about the Muppet Treasure Island, which is the 5th movie from the Muppets, and the second one by Disney after they did the Muppet Christmas Carol. And, of course, this is an adaptation of the Robert Louis Stevenson story, Treasure Island. Basically put Kermit the Frog and the gang in these roles. Tim Curry plays Long John Silver in this. And out of all the Muppet movies, this is the one that I had not seen until I did the reviews for this back when The Muppets Most Wanted came out. And judging from what I saw, there wasn't really anything that made me that shocked or thought this was the bad one. Every franchise has a bad movie in it. This one's probably it. And when I saw the movie for the first time, I thought, honestly, it was pretty forgettable. It's not a bad movie, but my biggest problem with it is that they didn't really do anything to make it stand out on its own. The only thing I think made it stand out on its own was the opening song, the song Shiver My Timbers, which was very unusual for a Muppet song, and I thought that was very interesting, too. A very interesting song to do in this particular case, and a great score by Hans Zimmer overall, which I think it's very interesting that he did this, because he did this before he had done hit it big with the Christopher Nolan Batman movies and Inception, although he did The Lion King before this one. But other than that, though, the movie itself is pretty forgettable. I think there are moments where the gags still work with the Muppets, and Tim Curry can always be a ton of fun. But other than that, it's basically an adaptation of Treasure Island, only just throw the Muppets in there, and I really don't think the comic potential was really all there. Then again, it could also be my hatred for pirate movies is pretty much there, too. It's mostly because it's the same plot every time. I'm not even a big fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and I know a lot of people like those films, too. There are a couple exceptions, most notably stuff like The Pirates Band of Misfits, which I think is a fun film. And there's a little bit of a soft spot for Treasure Planet, too, even though I don't think that's a great film overall. It's just something that really is it's nothing that Muppet Treasure Island is not a bad movie per se. I don't love the movie, but I don't hate it either. It's just kind of in the middle. My big problem with it is that it doesn't really do anything new with it, or does something completely different or unique with it, except just throw the Muppets in there. Like, the Muppet Christmas Carol took chances. They made it work by delivering a lot of things that we're not used to seeing with the Muppet films here. Except for that one part in the beginning of the film, it just kind of feels like they didn't take full advantage of the possibilities they had. There are things overall that I did like about it, but I was kind of disappointed by it. I didn't get what I was hoping for, but I mean, honestly, it's better than some of the other Muppet films that we've gotten from them, and certainly a lot better than the next movie that came out only a couple years later. But we'll delve into that when we get to Muppets from Space in '99. But anyway, that's Muppet Treasure Island. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is City Hall.
I feel that this city is gonna explode. I am talking guns, I'm talking corruption, I'm talking 2,000 shootings a year. It all began with a shooting.
You got a shootout in Williamsburg, and there's 2 deaths, and they're connected, and that's all I know.
That's all I want to know. Kevin, you're my right hand. You're the mayor's right hand. Who do you think you are? Some gumshoe in a dime novel?
Aren't you supposed to be the pipeline to the mayor? You should tell him somebody's taken up the wrong street.
Both of you. You want to stay way the hell away from this one. Whose side are you on?
Yours? I always will be, John.
Just because this kid thinks he can elect you president, are you going to forget who got you here?
I don't forget. I don't forget anything.
Why don't you run for office instead of carrying the mayor's bag?
I consider it an honor, not only to carry his bag, but also to fill it at night with the things I think the city needs.
Damage control, Kevin. Damage control. There was a palace that was the city. A palace in which there is no king, no queen, no princes or dukes, but subjects all beholden to each other to make a better place to live.
This is an incident that will not go away.
I choose to fight back until this city, our city, is a palace again.
That trailer pretty much kind of sums up the movie itself. It doesn't really know what the hell it's trying to sell you. It tries to give you an idea that maybe this is a story you've seen done over and over again, but then that music really, I think, is the reason why that trailer didn't really ebb with the movie's flow, because it kind of sums up the point of why this movie doesn't work. It's a film that I think wants to be hard-hitting and deep, but it also wants to be a little more uplifting too, and I think that's probably the wrong way to go with this particular film, and I think it definitely shows why in the film. The performances overall are not bad. Al Pacino, I think, does another good performance in here, even though he's really overdoing it with the performance in this, especially in this trailer. Like, there are moments in there where he's clearly Oscar baiting for something here. John Cusack's at least trying, and so is Bridget Fonda. Everybody in here works fine, but there just isn't a coherent story to really make it stand up on its own. Like, it wants to talk about political corruption, it wants to talk about corruption overall, scandals, all this type of stuff, and it's just like, it doesn't really know what kind of a direction it wants to go for with it. Like, it doesn't really have a feel like it knows exactly where it wanted to go with this. You can kind of tell why this movie got pushed back, because it was supposed to be a Christmas release. in 95, and then they just pushed it to the dumping ground months of January and early February, and you can kind of see why, because this is not a film that I think has its true priorities intact here. I think there is some parts of it that do kind of work. The casting, I think, really is the one thing that sticks true with it, even though some of those performances do get a little too over the top. But as far as the movie itself goes, I don't think they really filled up what they wanted to tell, like what kind of a story they wanted to tell. I don't think they had the right idea of what they wanted to do. I think they wanted to just do something where this would work solely on the performances of the actors, and it works fine on that level, but it's not something that I want to see anytime soon. It's maybe for a one-time watch, it's worth it, but there's nothing in here that's going to leave a lasting impact on you after you see it. I know it certainly didn't do that with me, so yeah, that is City Hall. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is Ellen DeGeneres and Bill Pullman in Mr. Wrong.
Look at them. They're so happy and in love. Don't worry, Martha. You'll be next. Thank you. She's drunk.
Martha Alston didn't think she'd ever find love.
I'm going to stop looking. That's when it happens anyway, when you're not looking.
Then he came into her life.
Tom Waitman.
He's brilliant. He's handsome. He's incredibly sexy. Did you? Yeah.
But the more she gets to know him,
We've got some faxes.
the less she wants to know.
Hello, Mother. Turn around. Good birthing hips. And an adequate bosom. I think we need to talk.
You want to do something fun?
I don't want to steal beer.
Stolen beer tastes better.
You stealing from me?
Whitman, that wasn't fun.
Now, she just wants to call it quits.
I don't want to see you anymore. Is that clear?
But he's just getting started.
I love you, Jelly. Watch me now.
Is this gentleman bothering you?
I'm her lover.
Oh, my God.
God, you look sexy in that little hat.
Touchstone Pictures presents Ellen DeGeneres and Bill Pullman.
Do you think that I love you enough to break my own finger?
Please don't.
Mr. Wrong.
That's love.
You know, Ellen DeGeneres used to make fun of this movie all the time on her talk show, but really, when you realize that a year later she would come out of the closet on her show, I think the movie kind of date-stamped itself pretty much to that point, and by that point the movie had already been largely forgotten, and for good reason, because the movie really isn't all that good. I mean, it's basically just a reversal of The Heartbreak Kid, and it's interesting because 11 years after this movie came out, the Farrelly Brothers would do another version of The Heartbreak Kid, which was also not very good, but it was certainly a lot better than this movie was. This movie, I think one of the reasons why this movie doesn't work maybe also is because, bringing it back to the Farrelly Brothers, it feels like it's trying to be like the Farrelly Brothers-esque. Like Dumb and Dumber just came out 2 years prior to this, and this was probably one of those first movies that was trying to go for that type of comedy in this, that kind of slapstick comedy-esque type of thing here, and it just doesn't work. It's a film that just really has its priorities in the wrong place. I think there's just way too much here to ask these actors to do. These are two very good actors. Ellen DeGeneres, Bill Pullman can really show that in other films that they can be really good actors, but this just feels like this was something that maybe they thought they had some interest in making something great out of it, but in the end, it just came out being a very lackluster comedy. The jokes aren't really flying all that well. The material just doesn't work it well at all. And just the writing overall is just very lackluster. It just feels like a watered down version of The Heartbreak Kid. I mean, it's not that funny, it's not that interesting, it's not that intriguing. It says a lot when this is the only movie that Ellen DeGeneres has ever had a leading role in a live action film. Of course, she's had leading roles in the Finding Nemo movies and all that, but yeah, you can kind of tell why she makes fun of it all the time, and rightfully so, because it's not a very good movie whatsoever, and really, that's pretty much all you need to say about this movie. It's not a good film, period. It's a terrible movie. It's not funny. It's not creative. It's not that engaging. It wastes two very good talented people that have proven to be good actors in other things. The cast overall in this is just wasted, and the director of this is wasted too. Nick Castle, who had done Dennis the Menace and Major Payne. This is a guy that... This is Michael Myers, for God's sake. You'd think he would make a better movie than this, but, well, Mr. Wrong definitely proves you wrong on that front, so...
To millions of fans around the world, he's a living legend. If you've never seen him before,
It's him! Give me that gun!
you've never seen action.
We got hostages! There ain't a hovercraft! Call out the Coast Guard!
New Line Cinema presents the action hero who does all his own stunts. Jackie Chan.
So like I said, Rumble in the Bronx was the first movie to break Jackie Chan into the mainstream here in North America. Although he had been in a couple of other films here in America before. He was in Cannonball Run. I believe it was just the first movie. He could have been in the second one too, but I know for a fact that he was in the first one. And that was back in 1981, 15 years prior to this. So he's been in some movies here in America before, but this was the movie that broke him into the North American mainstream. This was a film that premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in January, drew overwhelmingly positive reaction from the crowds there. New Line eventually picked it up, and not but a month later, it was hitting theaters and ended up becoming the #1 movie in the country back at that time. And it was also the most profitable film of 1996 because the film had a budget of $76 million. The film made $76 million worldwide on a budget of $13 million, $7.5 to $13 million, and it made it the most profitable film back then in that particular year. And you can kind of see why. It's the film that, like I said, brought Jackie Chan into the action genre here in the States. And it is a pretty good film. It's a film that showcases what Jackie Chan can do. Like, this is stuff that he's been doing for a long period of time, and this was a film that was really well done on so many levels. The action is great, the stunt work is very good, Jackie Chan has a lot of charisma and charm that he brings to this role. The plot doesn't really do too much do anything new or different, but honestly, with these type of movies, you can let that slide. If there's one thing you could kind of give the movie a little flack for, is that, you know, Jackie Chan has a lot of charisma, and he can be a pretty good action hero in this. He does his own stunts and all that, but his acting early on in these movies were not that great. I mean, he wasn't terrible or anything, but his acting overall is the weakest part of this movie. But at the same time, you have to remember that they did English dubbing on this too, so maybe that's why it didn't end up being as good as it was. But Jackie Chan has since then proven that he has been a very good actor in a lot of stuff, and this is a fun movie. It's a fun film all around. It's a movie you can turn your brain off, watch, and have a good time with it. It's a really good film. Rumble in the Bronx, I don't think I need to say anything more about that one. I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't seen it. So, let's move on to the next movie, one you probably never even heard of, with Meryl Streep and Liam Neeson, and that is Before and After.
Shut up, all right? Rich kid. I said shut up! Friend.
Dr. Orion?
You haven't called me doctor since we first moved up here.
Is Jacob around?
Is there something wrong?
Something happened on a poor farm road. The girl got herself killed. Jacob was seen with the girl. Oh, for crying out loud. Man, hey, I just need to talk to you.
Jacob?
For the police, he was the only suspect.
You're searching Jacob's room.
That's so stupid and useless. Why aren't they out looking for him?
For the town, he was the only one to blame.
Jacob Ryan is charged with a terrible and unthinkable crime.
But for the Ryans, Jake, he was their only son.
Can you look at us?
No.
There was blood in the car.
blood.
It's been taken care of.
What do you mean, taken care of?
A family is torn between what they believe.
There is some other explanation for all this.
Someone else might have been there and killed that girl.
And what they fear.
Does Jacob have any particular problem expressing his anger?
This is my son you're talking about.
You may like to remember, Dr. Ryan, it's always somebody's son.
Between their instinct.
I won't testify. Not today, not ever.
There's no such thing as parent-child immunity.
I won't help them to convict him.
And the evidence.
Still haven't found the murder weapon.
Randall, there's something you should know.
Hey.
What is that, Ben Ryan? Are you going to presume now to tell me when I can speak and when I have to be quiet?
Between the child they love.
It wasn't me, all right?
Whatever the truth is, we're standing by you.
And the shadow of a doubt.
She was pregnant.
Jacob wasn't the father.
Suppose Jacob and Martha were followed by someone with good reason to be jealous.
It's still out there, whoever did this.
Jacob!
It could be anywhere.
You're trying to get him off with your big shot lawyer and all your money.
He would be my client, and I would not ask your permission for how I choose to defend him.
From director Marlene Schroeder.
We've got to think of Jacob.
But Jacob's innocent.
Meryl Streep. Liam Neeson.
I just want my boy back.
You know, it's interesting, you look at this movie and then you look at the Defending Jacob miniseries that was on Apple TV a couple of years ago. Definitely a lot of similarities to this. Of course, that was based off of a book, and I think that this was actually inspired by the book that this movie is based off of, the Rosalind Brown book of the same name. It feels like it's very similar. I mean, if you go to the Wikipedia page, it doesn't straight up say that it's inspired by that, but it's kind of hard not to notice that when you watch this movie, especially considering that the son in this is literally named Jacob. He's played very well here by Eddie Furlong, but really that's one of the only positives I can give this movie. I mean, it's a film that it's definitely trying its best. Everybody in here is trying their best. Meryl Streep, Liam Neeson, you get them in here for a specific reason, and they're trying the best they can with the material given to them. But the problem is the movie really doesn't engage you in any way, shape, or form. It's one of those movies where the mystery is not all that exciting. It's not that interesting on any level, shape, or form. And it reminds me a lot of The Girl on the Train, actually, the movie where somebody comes in trying to solve the mystery too, and they make it even worse, and it's just like, you hate these characters because they just won't stay out of it. And that's really what I got when I watched this movie. It felt like a film where if Meryl Streep and Liam Neeson would have just backed off, let the investigation take over, and maybe this wouldn't have turned out to be as big of a deal as they make it out to be, because they create more problems than they do solving the problems in this movie. It's just like, you don't like anybody in this movie whatsoever. You have no sympathy for these people at all. Like, these are not well-written characters at all. And this is by Barbara Schroeder, who had done Reversal of Fortune and Single White Female and Kiss of Death before this. And it's one of those films where it's just like, I want to get invested into this. This has the potential for something good here, but just the things that these people do, it's so ridiculously stupid and annoying, because, you know, this whole problem, this wouldn't be a huge problem if you had just stayed off to the side and let things play out like they do. Is like they would, but no, you gotta intervene, and that causes a whole ton of problems here. And it's not a good movie. It's just not a very good movie, despite all the people they have on board here, the talent that's on here. It's not a good film at all. It's a really, really lackluster film. It's not an engaging mystery. You hate the people involved in this, and it's just not enjoyable in any way, shape, or form. It's a really terrible film. Yeah, that's before and after. So let's move on to the next movie, and that is Julia Roberts and John Malkovich starring in Mary Riley.
The house of Dr. Jekyll. There lived a chambermaid named Mary Riley.
When did you last see the doctor's assistant, Mr. Edward Hyde?
Please don't interfere.
Now she's about to take sides
What did you do to them?
in the battle between good and evil.
I saw the room. There was blood on the ceiling.
There were others.
What others?
Julia Roberts.
What others?
John Malkovich. Mary Riley. Rated R. At theaters February 20th.
How do you make an adaptation of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde starring John Malkovich be as boring as this movie is? I mean, I'm not even sugarcoating it. This is a boring movie. I mean, you got John Malkovich, who's been known to play these great over-the-top roles in his career. You have him cast as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I mean, how can you possibly screw that up and make it one of the most boring characters you will ever see? And, you know, Julia Roberts, this is one of her few misfires in her career at this point. Like, she did not pick a lot of bad movies up to this point, but this is definitely the worst one she's picked so far. And it's a shame, too, because not only that, you've got a lot of people who were working on Dangerous Liaisons. Stephen Frears, the director of this. Christopher Hampton, the writer of this. John Malkovich, of course, was in there. So was Glenn Close, who's also in this. The pieces are there, and Columbia Pictures had actually done a couple, and Sony, I should say, Columbia, TriStar, Sony, they're all pretty much the same. But what I'm trying to say here is that they had done successful modern interpretations of these classic monster movies. I mean, they did a great period piece with Bram Stoker's Dracula. They did a great one with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. They did a great modernized Wolfman movie with Wolf with Jack Nicholson. They could do stuff like this, but unfortunately the movie itself is just so boring. There's just nothing about this movie that works whatsoever. And it's a shame, too, because you get John Malkovich in here, a guy who was perfect to be cast as Jekyll and Hyde. He could play these roles really well, but here he's just not given any material to work with here. And the movie's he's not even the main focus of the movie. It's basically following the maid of Dr. Jekyll, and unless you're going to do something incredible with that character, then there's no reason to do this movie whatsoever. I don't care if you have Julia Roberts in here. I don't care if she's one of the big leading actresses is working today, and you need her to be your big star for this film. If you're not going to do anything with her that's actually interesting, then don't focus the movie just on her. I mean, she's not an intriguing character in this movie. She's trying her best acting-wise, but it just doesn't work. It's a movie that just, on so many levels, should have been more interesting, should have been more engaging, but it's a bore. It's one of the most boring gothic horror films you will ever see. Maybe one of the worst movies Stephen Frears has ever made. And Stephen Frears was a fantastic director, but this, oh boy, this was a mess. So, that's Mary Riley for you. Will it get any better? Not with our next movie, it won't. Ray Liotta in Unforgettable.
Dr. David Crane thought he'd never solve his wife's murder until he found a way to relive her final moments.
So you've really transferred memory?
Yeah, and lab rats.
I'd be willing to try it.
Now, he will be the first.
I mean, if somebody finds out about this,
I can keep a secret, can you? To journey into a new world. Unforgettable. Rated R. Starts Friday, February 23rd.
Well, you can give it list. At least Linda Fiorentino was able to come back from Jade after this. I mean, this movie wasn't that great, but at least she tried in this movie. I mean, Ray Liotta just tried too, and I think the biggest problem with this movie is that it comes from John Dahl, who had just done The Last Seduction, which was a fantastic film. Before that, he did Red Rock West, and his name was growing at this point as a director, and this was a movie that kind of was trying to be... It follows a trend that we saw back in 1995, where we used virtual reality and computer technology, and it can be used against us, like stuff like Johnny Mnemonic, Virtuosity, Strange Days, those type of films. Not a lot of those movies worked, and this is an example of one of those movies that just doesn't work. It's a film that has kind of a mediocre premise. This guy wants to find out who murdered his wife, so he figures, I'll use this technology to go back in time to find out who did it, and it'd be interesting if something actually interesting happened, and unfortunately it just doesn't. There's not really a whole lot there, and it's probably not a good sign when your trailers for this movie actually use the Nat King Cole song Unforgettable in the soundtrack for it. I mean, you could make that work for something like a horror movie or even something like this, but not when you combine it with generic action film music like the ones that they have in this trailer here, which I can't show because, you know, copyright restrictions and all that. But if you look at that trailer, you'll actually know what I'm talking about for this movie. It's just like, there's a way to use that song in this type of a film to make it work, and that trailer did not do it any favors. But I mean, give John Dahl some credit though. His career kind of rebounded after this, because the next movie he made was Rounders, which was a much better film, and so at least there's that. And at least these people came out of this movie doing much better things than this particular film did. I mean, it's not a good film at all. It's a really lackluster movie on so many levels. It's not engaging on any way, shape, or form. It's not an enjoyable film whatsoever. It's just a terrible, terrible movie. It's not an enjoyable film at all. A waste of really good actors, a waste of a good director. It's a waste on so many levels. It's not a good film at all, and I really do say skip this film. Let's see if we can get better with the next film, and we do here. It's Wes Anderson in one of his first early film roles as director, I should say. That is Bottle Rocket.
Thank you, because if I said that one, it would sound like bragging. Obviously good quickness.
Yeah, in and out pretty fast.
Real fast. Including the coin collection and the earrings.
You took the earrings, Dignan? I bought the earrings for my mother on her birthday. Maybe we should have robbed your house. You ever think of that? 3 outstanding young men.
Well, come on, baby, and rock with me tonight.
Bob Mapplethorpe, potential getaway driver. Go. I really want to be a part of this team. And I'm the only one with a car. That's good.
I should have said that this was his first movie as a director, because this was his feature directorial debut. And I don't really talk about Wes Anderson much on this particular channel, but he's actually one of my favorite directors. He's made a lot of movies that I've really liked. I don't think I've seen a bad movie that Wes Anderson has ever made. I think I've really liked a lot of his movies. I like his style as a filmmaker. I like his unique vision that he has in these movies. He's got a lot of very funny jokes in these movies. He gets all these great people to be involved in it. He could do so many different genres, and it just really is amazing at what this guy's able to do. And what's interesting about this particular film is that this is the least like his normal formula of movies that you will see. This and Rysher. This is a movie that feels very un-Wes Anderson-like, but it feels like you could definitely see the signs of what he would eventually do later on down the road. And it is a really solid film. It's a great film overall, a great heist film. Great action all around, great comedy all around, a strong cast that includes Owen Wilson, Luke Wilson, James Caan. It's a fresh take on a heist movie. It's a very well-made film. It's a very engaging film. It's a visually pleasing film, a very funny film overall. It's just an incredible movie, and I really cannot recommend it enough. If you love Wes Anderson's previous works, you need to see his first movie, because you will love that just as much. And that's all I really got to say. Check out Bottle Rocket. So, with that said, let's move on to the last film, and that is the documentary Anne Frank Remembered.
She is perhaps Hitler's best-known victim. But what was Anne Frank really like?
She was just what you could call naughty.
What interested Anne very much was about the sexual behavior, and she wanted to know what it was all about.
If you know your history, I really don't need to tell you who Anne Frank is. I think her story is pretty much very well known, but this is a documentary that I never really knew about until recently. You basically have the story of the woman who helped shelter Anne Frank's family and had saved the diary after the group was betrayed, collaborated with the director of this, John Blair, and is interviewed about her memories of hiding the Frank family. And the director also uses interviews with other people, Anne Frank's friends, uses archive interviews of Otto Frank to retell Anne's story, and it also includes the first meeting between Miep Gies, who's the woman that I was talking about earlier, and Werner Peter Pfeffer, the son of Fritz Pfeffer, who is Albert Dussel in the diary, who died 2 months after the filming of this movie. In a moving scene, as it happens, you have this tearful Pfeiffer offering Vila Dank, many thanks in German, to Gies for her efforts to save her father. And that I took that off of Wikipedia because I've never seen this documentary before. But it sounds like a very engaging documentary. You've got narration by Kenneth Branagh. Glenn Close reads excerpts from the diary. And it's a very interesting story to take a look at, especially considering that the Anne Frank house actually was had a huge part in this movie. And it's really interesting to see these old. It's really interesting from this trailer I see to see some of this old footage that they have that they put in this little clip here. It actually makes me want to watch this to see all this footage in person. Like I've seen a couple of Anne Frank movies. I've seen the one that I think Disney did one for The Wonderful World of Disney in the 2000s, I think. I could be wrong on that, but I know there was one in the 2000s. I think it was either Disney or ABC that did it, but I remember watching that one when that was on TV back then, and it's just an engaging story to really look at. It's like this documentary. It looks like it could be very interesting. There's a lot of things about it that piqued my curiosity, so it's definitely one that one day I want to check out, but in full. But the stuff I'm seeing here definitely shows a lot of promise. So that is Anne Frank Remembered.